And then I came across these pictures. I just thought I'd put them in a little video. It's to do with submarines. Now, this must be the Second World War, because the submarines of the First World War, or that time, are a quarter of the size. I'm showing information. You can stop and read any of these, because they're saying it's a minefield out there, that there's all these sunken submarines, but we know why. They had to, because this is Tartaria, and they had to get rid of them, and so they're going to say that we're at war and they got sunk and all that. But when you look at the Tartaria ones, they're not very big, are they, these submarines? Are they? I was looking up all sorts of things. This is supposed to be a ship going down. You know, the English Channel is an ocean of tomb ships and submarines. As I said, you can stop and read any of those bits if you want. But I was just a bit shocked at, okay, that's got to be the Second World War. It says World War One, but I don't see any of the submarines being that size. Yep, that one says it's that size. But most of the submarines are small. I've got a few pictures of what someone put into, you know, how many they could sleep. Again, that's the same submarine off the coast of England. Do you see the effect on the submarine? When me and James were looking at the Titanic, it was the same thing as that. Do you see that funny colour it is and how old it looks? Anyway, let's carry on. Obviously found then. But there are some in the sea, which is what this is. And they know that they're submarines. They're very weird shaped looking things. You've got ships just dumped. That one's left. But they keep finding bits in the sea, so here we go. Now, the little one at the bottom on the left, the one on the left is a German boat, and it says it sleeps 35 men. 35 men. At a shove. At a shove. The ones of 2010, 98 men can sleep in that. 35 then, 90 odd now. They're not that big, and for 30 odd men, they were small and weird shape as well compared to what ours look like today. Can sleep 35 men. So, in very cramped conditions. So that picture they're showing of World War One submarine is huge compared to these. They were small. As you can see, not many people could sleep in them, so these things were not that big. You know, there's a battlefield of... But no wonder I had to sink them all, because they want to hide the truth. And some of them, you know, like that looks like a ship, but it's actually a submarine. They look so different in a way, those submarines, don't they? But anyway, the video's coming to the end, but I've just put this information. I just thought it was very strange that there's lots of sunk submarines. Of course, we had to have a war for it, but we didn't, did we? They had to get rid of them. They just did. Different era, see? The Tartaria era. Hey, I've nabbed Christian into another discussion, haven't I? Well, we've been talking for ages as it is, isn't it, really, about things?
Well.
It says, if your voice held no power, they wouldn't try to silence you.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll move on from that one, and then I'm just showing people pictures. So that was Jessie Hall, who we've had a hangout with, did that one. And then these ones are shells, you know, the great big ear shell made into things. And then this one here, you know, many places had electric transport 100 years ago. It's obvious someone is holding us back on development. And I found that really weird. We were electric in the 1800s. They made us go all into oil and petrol and all that, and now we're going back to electric.
Circulating us back 100 years.
To where we were when we were just as advanced. Yeah. And it's got the date of 1920. And if anybody has looked up or been watching any of my videos, Tartaria ended about 1910. It was over by 1925. It has the First World War and the Second World War as part of it to destroy it. And we're going to talk a little bit later on about submarines, which is coming up later in the video. I've already done that, but I'm doing this one with Christian. And it just seems that everything was there at the 1900s, and then it wasn't there. It's all been destroyed.
The difference in technology is the way that was used.
I mean, yeah, anyway, let's move on. So, next picture's coming up. I just find that quite incredible. Oh, that one is just, it's not real, but it looks like a bird. The feathers look like another bird in the tree, but it's not. It's just leaves. And this one, we're going to talk about this one again in a minute. Now, this is a volcano, but I'm going to wait. In a couple of minutes' time, it's going to come up again, and then we're going to talk about that again. Here's a picture, Manisa, Turkey, 1910, with pillars in the ground, and there's basically mud about 10, 12, 15 feet up, and they're standing on top of it with the pillars underneath. They're standing on top of it all. And
that seems to be the case around the world, doesn't it? That this 14, 15, some places 20 feet to 30 feet.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine what happened. What did the world just suddenly, was the world sick and went, bleh, and then all this stuff came up and swallowed everybody up?
Exactly, isn't it? But it seems to be the case worldwide.
Let's put the video on. I thought that was a very interesting photograph. We all like to see our mud flood and stuff like that, and there you go, there's a really good picture of it. This one's just rocks which look like a turtle, but we'll leave that one. This one's quite sweet. It says, in case you went through your whole life without seeing sleeping squirrels in their nest. I thought that was quite sweet. And then this one. This one says Italy. It's an emporium, which is obviously for burial, isn't it? But they've built this facade in front of rock, and it's the same thing. It's got pillars in it. It's probably all to do. I've just got a feeling that we're looking at the Holy Roman Empire when we see all this.
Or bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, anyway, these are to bury the people, probably with the cast iron caskets, which they don't really know. They're just not putting any of it together. But people are finding this information now of how different everything is. Anyway, that one there is just New Mexico, a rock, but that's a big rock sticking around. This one's quite interesting. This is an excavation and renovation of Machu Picchu, and the difference between 1915 and 2012, how much they've uncovered. But that was all covered in, undergrowth. It was as if, so the mud's come and then suddenly it's gone, ooh, we're going green, and it's all covered in green.
Buried it.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
That seems to be the case everywhere, that everything seems to be buried by a minimum of 15 feet of mud. And that's worldwide too.
Don't think it's that deep, because you can still see the structure, but it's as if all these bushes and things have grown. Anyway, I don't know how long that would take to happen, to be honest. I don't know how long it would take for the growth. That might be all it is 30 years. That was there 50 years ago, 100 years ago. This one. It's got these horses with their skeletons found in Bulgaria, and they're on a cart. And the whole thing has been flattened, if you understand what I mean. They've been flattened, and the cart behind's been flattened. There's no human, but there was a horse and cart, and it was obviously under mud again.
Very strange.
I know.
Very strange that there's no human with it.
No, it's just a horse. It's got 4 wheels, 2 horses, all strapped together, and it's obviously been buried and then uncovered. So more mud. And then this one blows my mind a bit. I'm sorry, there's this galleon ship, with sails and that. So, say the 1600s on top of an island. And, Christian, what were you saying about, we're assuming, because they're always telling us that the water level is going up. But in reality, you've got a friend who monitors water and it's going down.
Yeah, they've been monitoring it for the last 15, 20 years. But I think with this ship, it must have got placed onto this at a time when water levels were higher, but the water levels dropped quite rapidly to let it sit there, and obviously they couldn't move it back off by the time the water levels had dropped, receded.
I mean, it's not, this thing hasn't, you know, all the sails and everything are up. It's like this big ship stuck on a rock. In fact, what it looks like is that the ship now has moulded itself to the rock, so it's almost in the rock. And
it's got mud part of it as well, and it's like it's glued itself to it.
Yeah, and then all the galleons and everything are up, you know, for the sails, and this thing is sat on top of, but it's about, it's got to be about 50, 60 feet out of the water, 40 feet out of the water.
At least.
1, 2, about 3 or 4 floors up.
Mad, absolutely mental.
So how did that get there?
It had to be washed onto it. You know, the water levels had to be higher, but they dropped rapidly as well as it was pushed onto it. But the water levels dropped as the water levels passed. That's what I think. It happened quickly.
Anyway, we were looking also that these are concrete ships. Some of these are concrete ships. There's an old picture, I think that's in London, but more stuff here. That's in Italy, tombstone stuff. This is a beautiful caravan, beautiful inside. I'd like that. And then big trees. We're going back to that in a minute. The bits I just was recording them. We're just going through them. They're just showing themselves. Yeah, well, I don't know where they are, but they're in Scotland, I think, because that's Alan Henderson. He's a Scottish man, and he goes out and he puts loads of stuff in. That place is amazing. Yeah, look at this amphitheatre. Another one uncovered in Turkey.
Electricity, vibration.
It's in the side of a hill, but now they've uncovered it.
That would suggest the use of water as well, wouldn't it? You know?
I don't know. Right, there's that place. So we're going. Here we are. Now, this is supposed to be a volcano, and then the guy put. Oh, it's Alan Henderson again. He's a Facebook friend, but he puts a lot of Tartaria stuff in. It's a complete round circle. How could you have that as the top of your volcano?
Very strange, isn't it? The fact that it's perfectly round.
And what was it you were telling me about the volcanoes? They were slag heaps.
Remnants of mining, and basically they just discarded what they didn't want. It's like you get it today with the big machines. They get discarded. One thing that they want goes one side, and the dust or the slag that they don't want goes to the other side, and eventually forms what you call mountains. They had them in Wales.
You believe, don't you, that this whole place we were living on was mined drastically before the inhabitants came?
And it's still being done today in the same manners. Exactly the same.
Well, maybe they cause the electricity, because I told you, when the electricity hits the earth, and maybe you won't see it exit. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't, depending on how far away it exits. But when it goes in, trees grow there, and when it comes out, ores are mined. So no wonder we're covered in electrical arkings, because they want what they can mine.
Yes.
Which is crazy. We'll have to get more into that in another discussion. But we're moving on now. I just thought that was very strange. There's no way you could have a completely round, and that's the top of a volcano. I don't know what that is, but anyway. Concrete ships. I started looking up, and there's a load of concrete ships, because I put one out the other day about the one in that was in China, and a lot of the dates are going to be 1915, the same time. These were Tartarian ships.
Petrified. That's my theory. They're petrified. That the metal is turned back to its original composition.
Of concrete? So stone then? It's turned to stone?
Turned to stone, basically.
This
Well,
one
you see
says
some of the-
Christian, this one says 1910, so Tartaria.
Some of the other ones I've seen are older from earlier times, which were wooden ships, or supposedly wooden ships, but
1910, this one. SMS Selma. I told you about that one.
they're in a couple of various parts of the world where these boats are just pure stone, and everything in them is stone. Or concrete, if you like.
Well, there's concrete and there is
Actually,
metal.
it's like
There is
concrete.
metals. The metals didn't go to stone. The metals are there. I think they're concrete. Some of them are concrete. Ships made of concrete.
Why would you build a ship of concrete? You wouldn't really. You wouldn't.
I don't know. So I'm just getting rid of a consent thing on the computer. No, we're back now. I don't know. There's loads of ships. You can see the metal in the concrete.
Well, if you can see the metal,
1919. It's all that time. It's all got to be about 1900s. There's another one.
the turn of the century.
Yeah, when we had all the electric and all these things, and then no, we didn't. We had the First World War, which destroyed lots of stuff, and the Second World War. Imagine what was here. Imagine what we would have seen if they hadn't destroyed it all.
Well, they reckon that some of the buildings themselves held the electric and the source of the ether, and that's why they lit up, because of the way they were built. It's like the actual stonework held the energy.
Well, did it here? It says concrete floats well. Concrete hulls. Does anybody from the material to the vessel and displaces water and blah blah blah. So they're saying concrete floats. This is what it says about this ship. This is another concrete ship. I just didn't realise there was so many.
No, I only thought there was like the odd one here, there, that the ones that I've come across, but obviously there's lots more, unless they were steel and they have been changed in composition through petrification.
I don't know, we've definitely got this mud because we've been showing pictures with the mud in it. We've got things that just are out of place, even like those load grabbers, you know, they were made in the end of the 1800s.
Unless they were made deliberately because they were solid and wouldn't sink into mud. So many theories.
Yeah, well, I don't think the big last mud flood was that long ago, to be honest. It was probably the 1900s or something. Covering everything up.
Yes.
But it's strange that it only covers some of it up, and it's strange that, you know, some places are actually below sea level on the land, and you're like, how does that happen?
And yet there's no water. I mean, a lot of these places look like they've been drained as well, like the water's been taken away.
Could have been a tsunami.
A giant one. That would explain the boat. That would explain the boat on that rock.
There's
If it
another
was
concrete ship, 1920, same sort of era. We're coming to the end of the video now. Is there anything you want to say, Christian?
No, I think we've just about covered everything for today.
Okay then. Well, thanks very much for helping me do this part of the video.
That's okay. No problem.
Just when you thought Christian maybe had gone, he's back. He's brought up the biggest ship made, bigger than the Titanic at the same time, or even before, called the Great Eastern, a paddle ship. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masts on it. Doesn't actually, though, look like many portals for people to sleep. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 on the bottom. It's not many rooms, is it?
No.
You think this one was the biggest? Let's go and look up a bit more. Hang on. Starting, as we do. There it is. That's supposedly a picture of it. It is quite big. I wouldn't have said it was the biggest, though, Christian.
It was massive. I mean, they said that people
for its time,
it was that big that people that were trapped while building it, if they got trapped between the plates, they didn't even bother to pull them out because they couldn't.
Oh. 1 second, I've got another picture. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. This one here shows it looking a bit bigger with the paddle things.
It was humongous. It was so big that after its use, from what I understand, when it came out of use, it was ported in Liverpool docks, and it's like it only ever made one journey, and it got grounded, and it stayed there until
like the concrete ships. Yeah, we're just going to abandon them. 1 second. Supposedly, I think that's it being made there, but there you go. It's I want to go to this one here. It says biggest ships in the world. Should we have a look?
Yeah, go on.
But there's this one. So this was the same time as the Titanic.
Yeah.
Yes, there's another picture of it supposedly looking like the Titanic kind of again. There's an effect on it which makes it just look old.
I mean, when you see the chains.
It hasn't got any. This one looks the same ship but without the masts on it.
Yeah, because it became a steamliner.
Right. Started off with the sails and it was a steamboat then, but it was different. It was done differently then.
Yeah, I think they ended up relying on its engines in the
Oh right,
end.
one was the water, and then it was right. Okay, we're going to go into this. So hang on one second. So this ship says it was 1840 to 1950. So anyway, yeah, there it is. Oh look there. What's that one? Oh, I don't know. It's not the same ship. I tried to open up another one and it wouldn't open it up. It said it was an error. So. And the neighbour's going mad at a dog. There you go. Quite incredible. Let's have a look at this one here.
Oh,
yeah.
That was...
Anyway, I'm recording now. The Great Eastern, launched in 1858, was a huge steamboat designed by the brilliant designer Isambard Kingdom Brunel, as well as being famous for his work on railways. Oh, right. Do you know what? When I saw the Great Eastern, I was thinking of the Great Western. And that's the train service in Swindon by him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Swindon, up the road from me. Anyway, was also interested in using steam to power iron ships. I suppose in reality, we always think, well, you know, like we were just talking about the concrete ones, why you would want a concrete ship in there and would it float? But I mean, when they said that they were iron ships, it's quite surprising that iron floats, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
If concrete and you're worried about that, then how come iron ships float? So those are okay in the water. Anyway, the Great Eastern was the third of his huge shipping projects. One of the biggest problems with steam power in its early days was it was difficult for ships to carry enough coal to reach their destinations. There might not be enough places on the ship's route where they could pick up extra coal if needed. Sometimes the coal took up so much space that there was hardly any room for the cargo. Because of the early steamships still had masts, Great Eastern had 6 sails, which meant the ship could even sail if the coal had run out. Brunel believed, however, that he could solve the coal problem by building a ship so enormous that it would carry enough coal for a voyage to India or Australia without stopping for coal along the way. Great Eastern was 210 metres. 210 metres. Should we just see how long the Titanic was? Hang on.
What's time?
So the Titanic was 269 metres big. But this one says it was 211. But this was built before the Titanic, so it was still an enormous great ship, wasn't it, for then?
For its time, for the 1850s.
Yeah. And then designed to carry 4,000 passengers or 10,000 soldiers if used to carry troops. Work began on the ship in 1854. There were many problems in building and launching the ship, and the Great Eastern was not finally afloat until 1858. Brunel never saw it sail. He suffered a severe stroke just before the ship was due to leave on its first voyage from Liverpool, and by the time the ship arrived in New York 10 days later he had died. I'll just leave that up for a minute there. Although design, ship is sad. Anyway, the ship never sailed on long routes that Brunel had planned. Instead, the Great Eastern was used to cross the Atlantic to America, a much shorter voyage. Although the Great Eastern was very safe, passengers were put off by the rolling of the ship in the Atlantic storms. In 1864, Great Eastern was sold for a fraction of its cost to a company helping to lay the first... Oh my God. Christian, you ready for this?
Yeah.
It was sold for a fraction of its cost to a company helping to lay the first undersea telegraph cables between England and the United States.
Which still operate today.
Great Eastern was the only ship afloat that had enough room to carry the cable. The time that the ship spent laying cables for the new telegraph system was its most successful. Great Eastern successfully laid the cable, which began to operate in 1866. Now, you know what? When you look up when everybody else is getting electricity and all that kind of stuff, it's after that. But they were able to do that in 1886. How to lay it in the sea? How did they get down there? They don't talk about how they got down there and laid it, and it's still working today.
And I wonder if it had electric supply to it. I wonder.
It's still working today. Whatever they did was amazing.
Yeah, Tartarian.
Oh my god, I just want to go, because it's just, nothing ever adds up. Because I didn't believe there were cables under the ground, but they're saying in that time the telegraph system was put in there, whatever that was. It's probably tunnel, right? It's probably a tunnel under the sea, and they put everything in that.
Do you know? You might be right.
Then who put the tunnel? Know. Who put the tunnel there?
Tartarians.
It's always those Tartarians. The Great Eastern was finally broken up in 1888. So this ship that's been amazing wasn't really 18. The ship was built so strong that it took 200 men 2 years to dismantle.
Yep.
But it was gone in 1888. So this ship that's done this most amazing work, but they acquired this ship because it's Tartarian.
And had to be destroyed.
And had to be destroyed. 1 second. Say that again.
I remember watching a video being done about the Great Eastern, and the guy talks about it, saying, why couldn't they have saved the Great Eastern and made it a museum for the future, as a magnificent job it did?
Well, they can't do that, because then we'd realise that we were a lot more advanced than they're saying. We've got to be, if this thing was laying cable in 1886. Come on, we haven't even got electricity yet. Oh, but we're laying cables under the sea.
How was this possible, eh?
Well, it's always interesting talking with you. We find bits out, don't we, Christian?
Yeah, the mysteries of history.
Yeah, I wanted to open this one up, but it won't let me go anywhere. When you get there, it's an error. But nothing ever adds up, not even for the man who built the blimmin' thing. He died before it even set sail. Wow, well, thank you for that then, Christian. A bit more. So this is the ship that laid the cables between us and America. I didn't even think they were real anymore. But I reckon it must be a tunnel, to be honest. Somehow. I don't know. What did they lay it in that lasted that long to now and is still being used today?
Some of the old paintings show tunnels here, there and everywhere, don't they? So you never know.
But then they wouldn't need the ship, would they? And they said this ship laid the cables.
Yeah.
Well,
quite amusing.
Guess what I've just done? The same as usual. Stuck another piece of jigsaw puzzle into the puzzle.
I know.
It's a bit annoying that though, isn't it, Christian? You know, every time you find a bit more information, it still doesn't go anywhere. You're still left with just a bit more information. It's annoying. I find it annoying.
Yeah, it's like you're spending a lifetime putting a jigsaw puzzle together just to find out you ending up back at the start with the first piece.
Yeah, and then you go through it all again, and then you change your mind about a lot of the things you've learnt, and you realise, well, you know now that doesn't work, and you know that doesn't work. And, you know, like the thing I was telling you about those submarines is how small those First World War submarines were. Like, literally, they were just like a boat size. They were a tiny boat. They were small.
It's like the cockle-shell heroes used.
This thing was much, much bigger than they were. But
Right.
they did put this big submarine had landed on the beach in England, and that one looked enormous, but it had the same problem. You only look at it, it's got the same sort of look on it that the Titanic had. And then that was a big submarine, that one, but nearly all of the ones I saw were small.
The funny thing is, the Titanic had the Olympic and the Britannic as sisters, didn't she?
I know, but I couldn't. You could never tell the difference between either one. They could have said the other one sank, or is it no? What was the sister called?
Britannic and the Olympic.
Yeah, you could have said that one had sunk.
Yeah, any one of them could have been.
It could have been any of them. They sunk, and they just called it whatever they did. And it's not real anyway. It's like we could never go and substantiate it, never go there. They've made the news up, as per usual. But I was just a bit shocked that this ship helped lay the cables. It doesn't say how long it took. So it doesn't say how long it took. How did the divers do it in that 1886? How did they dive down there and do it? At some points, that sea must be very deep. What?
That's a lot of cable, isn't it?
Are the cables just lying on the bottom of the sea?
And did it do it in one journey?
And how did they lay those? How did this? They didn't have really good scuba diving stuff then, did they?
And I'm just thinking about the welding
And
equipment.
because it's about 3,000 miles to America, then it would have taken years.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the welding equipment. Surely they had to connect certain pieces together, whether they did it on ship.
I don't know. It's too many, because we've got even more questions now. So they give us a bit of information, and we've got more questions.
Just blows your mind away. Blows your mind away. Either that or they were geniuses.
And this ship looks a bit more like the submarines. It's got that look on it that the submarines have. They don't, ships today look like this, but all
Yeah,
those
shape.
yeah, they've got different. The hulls are different shape.
Almost like pre-19th century, isn't it? Or pre-19th century, even the U-boats.
I don't know. They're just different looking. Tartaria, of course. In some places the ship looks quite big, in other places it doesn't look so big. It's bizarre how they do that.
I think there was a picture or painting. I think there was a painting of when it was actually in the docks, and you could see the height of this ship up, well above the buildings, and you think, well, it looks bigger in the painting than what it did.
I think they like doing that. They like doing that in paintings, pictures, photographs. Can just change things and make things look enormous.
Or was it really that size? And the specifics that they give of the ship, like being
Basically,
10 metres.
we've got to finish now because we've been talking long enough, and all we got is more questions, no answers. But Christian, thank you so much for helping me do that again, and thank you for bringing along the Great Eastern for me.
Yeah, another piece of the puzzle.
Which was about nearly the same size as the Titanic, built before the Titanic, and I don't know about like laying cables, and they don't tell you how they did it.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating to find out how it was achieved. Yeah.
Oh, you're there, right? So I put the recorder back on. So I just wanted to look this up. How was the first transatlantic telegraph cable laid? The insulated core was then covered in tarred hemp and wrapped with iron wire. The finished cable was about 5/8 of an inch in diameter. There's a picture of it somewhere, so we might just going to have a look at that in a minute. This mortal cable on the HMS Agamemnon. I can't even say it. What's Agamemnon?
Agamemnon.
That's it.
Agamemnon.
Well, this one says the cable on that ship, the HMS, was used to lay the first transatlantic telephone line which began operating in 1858. But they said it was the Great Western. This is what happens. This is what really annoys me about history. Every time I go to look something up, I suddenly realise the dates don't match, or something's wrong, or you just can't match it in, and everybody's got something different to say. This is a different ship. We'll have a look in a minute, but this is a different ship laid the cables. It was that one, the Agamemnon. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Though it said it was the Great Western.
The Great Eastern.
Sorry, the Great Eastern. In which year was the telegraph ways laid? Doesn't want the operation. 1850. In 1850, telegraphic engineer John Watkins Brett and his brother Jacob Brett laid the first telegraphic cable between England and France. Oh my God!
Oh.
How did they do that when we already know that you go a bit out of England? Oh no, maybe that's a bit further out, isn't it? Okay, this other shelf. After a French fisherman cut the cable thinking it was a new kind of seaweed in September 1851, the brothers installed an armoured cable that lasted for many years.
Wow. I've never heard of that one.
I know. Oh, when was that done? Let's have a look. Does it give a year? No, it doesn't give a time. Right. How were the transatlantic... Oh, this is good. This is how they were laid. Submarine cables are laid down by using specifically modified ships that carry the submarine cable on board and slowly lay it out on the seabed as per the plans given by the cable operator. The ship can carry with them up to 2,000 kilometre length of wire. As if they could make it that long.
Crikey.
Where was the first line telegraph laid? Let's have a look. Oh my God! Baltimore, 1944. Morse inaugurated the world's first commercial telegraph line with the message, "What hath God wrought?" Sent the message US capital to railroad station in Baltimore. Within a decade, more than 20,000 miles of telegraph cable crisscrossed the country. Well, we've gone slightly off because we were on ships and that one's across land, but who owns undersea cables?
I haven't got a clue.
Google has been obviously the largest owner and investor in submarine cable networks globally. Upon announcing its latest investment of the private subsea cable system, Google has invested in 16 subsea cable systems with approximately 120,000 kilometres cable length in total. Google! Well, you learn something new every day, don't you? Does this transatlantic cable still exist? Transatlantic telegraph cables were undersea cables running under the Atlantic Ocean, used for telegraph communications. I can't say it. Telegraphy is now an obsolete form of communication from the cables have long since been decommissioned, but telephone and data are still carried on the transatlantic communications cables. But it's not that easy to lay cable for 3,000 miles, is it?
I wouldn't have thought so, no. Definitely not.
Is there a cable running across the Atlantic? Well, there is, so there you go. Are the fibre optic cables under the ocean? Yeah, I reckon they are. They're amazing, they are. Yeah, it's under the sea. Oh, there's loads of them here. These little questions, when questions on there come up on the computer. When was the first underwater cable laid? Let's look again. 1850s. That one's between England and France. So that's the first one underwater.
That's the first one.
Yeah. Then it spanned in 1858 between Ireland and Newfoundland. Wow! That's Canada.
What did you say? Between Ireland?
But wait a minute, it says, but spanned 1858 between Ireland and Newfoundland, but the cable installed failed and it was abandoned. This one was updated on the 29th of April 2021.
Wow.
How long do undersea cables go? 8,000 metres deep. They're actually thicker in more shallow areas where they are often buried to protect against contact with fishing ship, marine beds and so forth. 8,000 metres down. Still quite a long way down, isn't it? And in a way they do sort of explain how they've done the cables under the water, but they haven't explained how they did it. Yeah, they said how they did it, but they didn't say the divers or anything like that, did they? What is the longest submarine cable? What's the longest submarine cable in the world? CMEW3 or Southeast Asia, Middle East, Western Europe 3 is the optical submarine telecommunications cable linking these regions and is the longest in the world.
Holy crap.
Yeah. How much do submarine cables cost? Is this on land? I don't know if we want to do that one. Who built the first? This is on different. Where do undersea cables come ashore? Well, it doesn't tell you.
Secret information.
Who pays for the undersea cables? The internet giants such as Facebook, Google, Microsoft and Amazon. What the hell are they paying for them all? Oh my god! The whole world just changes in front of you. If I'd never have put them... Anyway, there you go. That's why they're the masters of everything, isn't it? They control everything.
Sure seems that way, doesn't it?
What happens if an undersea cable breaks?
And where the break is?
Earthquakes, like ship anchors and fishing trails, can cause undersea fibre optic cables to malfunction or break many miles below the surface of the water. Why would they break many miles below this? 800 feet is not many. 8,000 feet is not many miles, is it? Christian, look up how deep 8,000 feet is. A working
8,000 feet is 1.6 miles.
So it's not miles, is it? A working fibre will transmit these pulses all the way across the ocean, but a broken one will bounce it back from the site of the damage. So there's got to be more than one under there, because you couldn't say we're linked to America and it gets snagged. Oh, that's it. We've lost communication now with America until they fix it. So there's got to be more than one wire down there that they're using.
Yeah, it's got to be.
What companies can run underwater cables? I don't know if we want to do anymore because it is reading on, but there are loads of questions. I wasn't expecting to.
No, was I? Not that much.
An artist's impression of how the Great Eastern would look completed. The final contract signed by Explorer laid down. They took evidence from and involved in the submarine telegraph cable industry. So they're saying that the Great Eastern was involved in it, but that's not what the other article said, is it?
No.
It's really bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it's got a different ship up here.
The Agamemnon.
Yeah. Oh, little kiddies outside having fun. But anyway, should we stop now? We've been going for 25 minutes. Oh my god, it just gets worse. Thank you for that, Christian.
It's very strange that I didn't even know that there were pre-cables laid before the Atlantic cables were laid. And the dates, some of the dates just don't match up together, do they?
No, they've got different ships involved. I mean, it would have had to have taken more than one ship, wouldn't it?
You would have thought so, yeah.
It would have taken years. 3,000 miles.
Sounds over the top, doesn't it? OTT.
Yeah, well, somehow. How does it work in Australia? We can still talk to people in Australia, video each other, you know, the whole thing. So it can't be the underground cables that's doing it. And I've already said this, I find this really weird when you actually think about it. I mean, like on the computer right now, I've got a picture with words on it. We're talking on here, we've got no cables between us. It's Tartarian stuff they're using, whatever it was. They were amazing, the Tartarians.
Ethernet. It's Ethernet, isn't it?
So things have to be pretty stable for that, because obviously if the Ethernet keeps changing, then our calls would keep changing. So maybe that's what the clouds are about.
Yeah, it's carriers.
Well,
carry the signal.
All I know is we must be doing a damn good signal for everyone else from here, because we always have clouds. I can see blue sky today, but nearly every day has a cloud in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Christian, we're going to stop now. A bit like, oh God, like abnormalities in the history. How did they still don't explain how they do it. Just because they said they put the cable down there and what it was made of, didn't say how they did it. This would have been a dirty, great operation, especially in those days.
It must have been.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they seem far more advanced than us, and the people are just, I don't know.
Well, to me, it sounds like they used submarines to lay it. That's what it sounds like.
Well, then they had submarines in the 1800s. Then they were only little then.
They must have done, and there's pictures of Tartarian pictures with these funny shaped submarines. So they must have used them.
Transatlantic cable, 1886. It's quite, yeah, I can see it there. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 12 sort of rings in it. But they made miles of that. They made 3,000 miles of it.
I mean, there's a book called 80,000 Leagues Under the Sea or something, and the Nautilus. I can't remember what age or date that book was written.
There you go. Look, there's a picture there. What they're saying, what it looks like. Hang on, over here. It's a bit small, but it's saying there's England, and these are the cables over. And don't forget, we had one from Ireland across here, which failed. Oh my God!
Bewildering, absolutely bewildering.
It is a little bit, because nothing ever adds up. None of it. Oh, hang on, what's this one here? The Victorian... Oh my God! The Victorian internet! And it's got... Why, like... Well, that's not true, is it? One from Australia goes to Alaska. Oh no, it goes to Canada where it joins America, but we don't go that way, and we don't even fly over that bit. So, but look what they're saying they had in the 1800s. They had an internet in the 1889.
There must be one part that Australia is connected to the rest of the world that connects them up with everything else. There's got to be. Because it seems like everywhere else seems to be connected.
I remember when my son went to Australia, all he ever said to me, every phone call, although he lives there now, and he's just about to have a baby, so I'm going to be a granny again, but he would say, Mum, you just do not understand how big Australia is. Mum, you've got no idea how big Australia is. I suppose because in reality they make it look quite small, don't they, in the pictures and everything.
On the map, yeah, on the map they do, but when you can fit so many countries inside of Australia, you know it's big.
Here you go, it says the Victorian Internet of 1889, and it's called Eastern Telegraph Company. At a time of the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, it all took 20 days for a message to travel from South Africa via steamer to Cape Verde Islands and onto the telegraph to London. As this remained the situation, at an outbreak of the Second Boer War in 1889, a quicker, more direct route was urgently required. The Eastern Telegraph Company contracted the telegraph construction and maintenance company to manufacture and lay the necessary cables which were to link Cape Horn, St Helena. They linked to St Helena. It's in the middle between, and it's out there past Africa, out in the sea. It's miles away.
Yeah.
Ascension and St Vincent in Cape Verde Islands. The message could then be routed over the telegraph company's existing cables from St Vincent via Madeira to wherever that is, Cavalas, Portugal. From there to Porthcurno in Cornwall, they again travelled over the Eastern Network. Oh my god, let's read this other little bit now. Hang on. And then it says, that says rebuilt cable landing station, Comfortless Cove, Ascension Island. It says the cable ship Angelia, laid the 2,655 metre stage from Cape Town to St Helena, completing it in 1889. And while CF Angela returned to the UK for more cables, CS Sign laid the section from St Helena to Ascension, a distance of 884 nautical miles, completing it by the 15th of December 1889.
Wow, there's something.
Hang on, did you hear that? Listen, from the 26th of November to the 15th of December, they laid 884 nautical miles of cable.
That's a lot.
1800 we're talking of here. CS Angelina laid 1,975 nautical miles of cable from Ascension of St Vincent Cape Verde Islands, completing the task by the 21st of February 1900, only 4 months after the start of the war. So what date? The 15th of December.
Wow.
So it only took them 2 months to put 1,975 nautical miles of cable in.
That's a lot.
Oh,
That's
I'm sorry, I don't believe their history at all, do you?
I don't know, it sounds more feasible than the Atlantic one.
No, because it's even further. They only had 884. This had 1,975. They did it in 2 months.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's not real. That's not real. Whatever happened was not done by then. And if they could do it that quick, they were amazing people. Oh.
Lost technology.
Shall we finish there?
Yeah, I think so.
God, I've got a headache now, just the thought of it all.
It's amazing though that so many cables were laid, you know, and it's not something that I grew up learning, you know.
No, when has that ever come in? That, oh, well, it's got to be 2 ships now. It's got to be the Western and the other ship.
I mean, in the 80s, you know, I was still in my teens, and all we heard was about satellites, and it was the cables were never mentioned at school. You know, we never learned anything like that at school.
Do you know what? We might have really liked school and history if they were talking about all this stuff.
I know, so many things were missed out at school, and it's like, what did we learn?
Nothing.
What did we learn?
We learnt a load of rubbish.
You know,
and they made everybody narcissists in the meantime as well. Everybody is narcissists now. Most people are narcissists. Sorry, they are. It's not even their fault, but they are, and you don't want to go near one of them.
Nowadays, people are learning off the computer what's been punched in by somebody else.
No, and also you're a commodity which I can get rid of today and get another one in tomorrow. That's what they're like, yeah. Anyway, Christian, that's what we've turned into, but thank you for helping me do this video. I said 5 minutes, didn't I? It's been like nearly an hour.
It's the interest, isn't it? The factual points that get your mind clicking over and over. You think, how?
I know some of the things that I've said to you that you have taken on board, haven't you?
Yeah. Very strange that they were doing it even earlier than what I thought they were doing it.
Yeah, and now you've helped me make a couple, a bigger video now with all the things that you're talking about. So anyway,
it's amazing.
Thank you, Christian, for all your help and everything, and yeah, mwah, and to chat room.
Bye.
Christian wanted me to go and look this up. I did see it. It's an HMS ship, so a British ship.
It had to be of the British Navy, didn't it? If it's an HMS.
It was built in 1781.
When?
It's got HMS Armageddon, 1781, Wikipedia.
Holy crap! That's almost 100 years prior of its building, and it was used in 1850.
They're driving them dog mad. Oi, you two! They're driving Floss mad in there. Wherever it is, she's going mad when she stops now. Yeah, it says 1781 Wikipedia. 64 gun, third-rate ship of the line of the British Royal Navy. She was of service in American Revolutionary War, the French Revolutionary. But I mean, that's the dog going mad in the background. If you hear the noises, not me. She thinks she's going out. I'll have to look up a few questions, but I'll just wait for the... What have you done to the dog? Ellie, don't swear. Anyway, I think the dog's excited, isn't it? Let's go to it now. It says, where was it built? Oh my god, it was built in 1777.
Wow.
Construction
Almost 100 years.
was ordered shipbuilder Henry Adams at Buckler's Hard shipyard on the well, it was 1777. What happened? Oh, there's another boat there. We don't look at that. There was Dreadnought and the HMS Ajax. More ships. I can't go into. There's too many. And the Armageddon 1906 battle cruisers. So this ship was built in 1777 and was still going in 1906. Tartaria!
Wow.
Tartaria!
That has definitely got to be Tartarian. If it was built in 1777. 1877. 150 years. Wow.
Do you think they're the same ship?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
All this stuff about ships can only be in service for a certain amount of time and then you've got to get rid of it. This ship was in service for nearly 200 years.
And it must have been the way it was built. Yeah? The material
Oh my god,
built. Wow.
Blue Funnel Line cargo passenger ship built. That's the Armageddon, the mine layer and the history in that, and it talks about it maybe going into a passenger ship after that. Submerged. It was a Royal Navy ship. She was 160 feet long, 44 feet in beam, and had a crew of 490. Then I'm not going into it because sometimes you think, and when you get there, it doesn't really talk about what you want. Here we go. 1905. These are the regiments on the ship. We're going past that. Wow. What do you make of that then?
Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. But for a ship to be in service that length of time?
Yeah, and it was also the Armageddon. The Armageddon.
Agamemnon.
Yeah, that one. It was I said that ship was on top of the island and it had the masts on it. This had masts. Same ship.
Wow.
So what did they do to it? It must be a different ship.
Must be.
Let's go to the pictures. Images. Yeah, there's two of them. There's the Armageddon of 1906, which has two sails on it, but it's a metal boat. The other one's a wooden boat. So they're not the same ships, by the way.
You mentioned the Ajax, yeah?
Yeah.
That was not a battleship. Was it a battleship? Or was it a frigate?
They've got to be different ships, the Armageddon. They're not. I don't see that they're the same ship. There's the Armageddon, the same yeah, it's the same.
Agamemnon.
Yeah, that. There was two of them then. There was a wooden one and there was a metal one.
Different version of it.
Yeah, but they didn't say that, did they? This should be That should be number 2 then.
Yeah.
But they're not saying that. It's still quite a big beast. Let's have a look at this one then. I'm going to the metal ship. That was a bit round and round, but I don't understand why they don't say number 1 and number 2, because that's usually what they do. Oh, it's just a picture of it.
It sounds like they just reused the name.
Yeah, but usually they call it 1 and 2, don't they?
Yeah, like the Queen Mary 1, Queen Mary 2.
Yeah, it's a bit strange that they didn't do that.
No, unless, what you say, one was the Tartarian version and one was the Commonwealth version.
Oh, maybe.
The change of empires.
It's definitely got both the ships in the pictures, but obviously one's a wooden one and one's a metal one.
You see, I mean, going by the song, Rule Britannia, yeah, they have to stick to the same rhythm, don't they? You know what I'm saying?
And then, there is still one today. Obviously means something having a ship with that name on it.
It must do. Oh, I'm not sure whether there's one today.
No. Got crew of one today, but anyway. Yeah, it's a metal ship as well. That says 1879. The HMS, that one. They're different ships. Oh, God, listen, it's got 1879 with that ship in it, but it's a different ship to this one.
The original.
So there's a passenger one. There must be a war one. But they're all called HMS. That one, I don't. Oh, it's always so confusing. Does this? Sorry, I'm just putting this question out. Does that ship there look like this one here? There's 3 of them then. It never adds up, the history, ever. We're going to stop now because I have got a headache now. Thanks for the extra bit, Christian.
Alright, no problem.